Welcome. What are the main conclusions of the Mirrlees report?
There are a huge number of conclusions in the report. There is a negative conclusion, which is that the current UK tax system and most other tax systems are currently very inefficient, very complex, and unnecessarily inequitable. The positive side is that we think there are things that you can do about that. Our strapline, as it were, is that you should be aiming for a progressive, neutral system. Now, how progressive you want the system to be is up to you. It's important to be neutral. That means to treat similar things, similar activities, similar incomes in similar ways, because if you don't do that, you create complexity, you create opportunities for avoidance and inefficiency. And it's important to think of the whole tax system as a system, because if you try to do something with a part of the system over here that doesn't fit with a part over here, then you create, again, complexity and inefficiency. In terms of the big specific proposals, there are 5 or 6 I think are worth drawing attention to. One is the importance of having a straightforward VAT system, which is broadly the same on most consumption, not as we currently have in the UK, and I think we have in Spain a lot of very low rates on some consumption and high rates on other consumption. That's very inefficient and doesn't help equity. There's serious problems in the UK and again I think in Spain in the lack of integration between social insurance contributions on the one hand and income tax on the other, and putting those together in a more coherent fashion is an important part of a long run reform. We have a very strange system of the taxation of housing in the UK. Houses are taxed on the basis of their value 25 years ago. It's done regressively and we have a transactions tax. All of those things need sorting out. Actually just taxing people as a proportion of the value of the home that they occupy would stand in place of a VAT for housing. Corporation tax at the moment distinguishes between debt finance and equity finance. Bringing those two things together would significantly reduce complexity and inefficiency in the system. And then there are a whole series of other things that you need to do to the taxation of savings, where at the moment, again, you have very different tax regimes for different kinds of savings, and a lot of those tax regimes are double taxing savings that people do. So moving towards something like an expenditure tax system for at least large chunks of savings would help, again, both equity and efficiency and simplicity.
I have a couple of questions. The first one has to do with the feasibility of implementing the integration recommended of the social security contributions with the labor income tax included in the personal income tax. Many people understand that integration or coordination is very important, but they don't know how to do it.
Well, from a technical point of view, we've done a lot of work on how you might integrate national insurance and income tax in the UK. Actually, technically, it's perfectly feasible. Moving the income definitions together would not be that difficult. In the UK, at least, there is no relationship between the national insurance contributions you pay and the benefits that come out at the other end, so you wouldn't have the complexity of having to work that through. What I think is difficult here is not the technical issues. What is difficult here is the political and public acceptability issues. So in two senses. First, if you integrate the two, you admit to the population that you have a tax rate of 32% in the UK, not 20%, which is the main tax rate, because you add the two together. And then if you add employer contributions on top, that goes to over 40%. So you are being transparent. And governments have a problem about being transparent when it's suggesting that the tax rate is higher than people currently think it is. Secondly, there is at least the possibility, depending on how you do it, that some people will gain and some people will lose. When you make tax changes which result in some people losing, that tends to be very difficult. So in an ideal world, you would increase the rate of tax that self-employed people pay, because at the moment, in the UK at least, they pay a lot less in the way of social insurance contributions than do employees. You would probably increase the tax rate on dividends